My bad. Okay. Let's just close out of this. Hey everyone, welcome to the LuaX Academy course, right? Today we'll be going over data and variables. This is presented by Viharsley and produced by Viharsley, which is the person you're hearing right now. Okay, so let's begin. Chapter 3, Data and Variables. What is a data type? A data type is essentially the classification of data, hence the name type in the data. Just like how we use language to classify numbers and words as words as its own separate entity, so does code. Okay? Here are the basic types of data. Now I say basic because there are much more data types than just these 5, okay? But I don't want to get into them because I don't want to confuse you too much because they're a little bit more harder to understand. Right? You need a lot more background knowledge before we actually start working on those data types. So here's just the basic 5. String, okay? Data that can hold letters, special characters, and numbers wrapped between quotation marks. So an example, bruh 112, okay? See how it has a letter or words and numbers, right? It doesn't really matter as long as it's wrapped in quotation marks, it's going to be considered a string, okay? So we have bruh trooper, and we have 112, which can literally just be numbers. As long as it's wrapped in a quotation mark, it is going to be considered a string, alright? So, number. Data that can hold numbers that can go into the decimal point range. An example, 10. Technically, this is considered an int, but a number is still a number. So, we have 10, 10.5, 5.5312, okay? So, decimal range, right? It can go into the fractions. Now, we have an integer, right? Data that can only hold whole numbers. An example, 10, 2, and then 1321, okay? If this is, for example, 2.5, right, it'll be considered a number, not an integer, right? So these two are kind of interchangeable, right? When you have a whole number, people call it int. When you have a number, people call it number, right? It's like bruh, okay? Instance is data that holds objects inside the game, okay? And it doesn't matter where the object is. It can be in game.workspace, it can be in game.server-script storage, it can be in game.server storage, okay? It really doesn't matter as long as it's a physical object that you can see inside the Explorer, right? That is what an instance is. So an example, a part inside workspace, a script inside server-script storage, a folder inside server storage, alright? All of those things can be instances since they can be seen in the Explorer, okay? And then let's get into what a variable is, right? So now that you know what a data type is, what a variable is, we basically plug in the data type to the variable. So a variable is a filler that represents a data type, okay? The reason why it's a filler is because you can put it in prints, you could put it in ifs, right? So for an example here, we have the filler word and we just put it in the print and it would print, bro, this cheese is so smack, not word, okay? It would print what the word represents, which is this, alright? So take for example bruh, right? The variable or the local bruh represents 100, the integer 100. The local or variable, any name you want, represents the string value trooper 500. And random part represents game.workspace.part, okay? Makes sense? And then, this one, right? You get the gist. Now, why is this useful? Let's say, for example, you want to print the string value, bro, this cheese is so smack, 5 times. Instead of having to hard code, bro, this cheese is so smack, 5 times into the print statements, you can just set a variable for it and then print the variable, right? So local word, bro, this cheese is so smack, and then print word. You get it. So this concept, I want you to think it's a principle, right? Because I'm coding this basically on the principle of how modular can it be. So this is being modular. Easy to change, easy to edit, easy to add to, okay? So let's say I wanted to change it to say burrito Dorito instead of bro, this cheese is so smack, okay? Well, if I didn't do a variable and I just hard-coded it, I would have to go back to every single one of these print statements and change it to burrito Dorito instead of just changing the variable representation of it. So all I would have to do is change what this variable represents, which is Dorito burrito, right? And it would trickle down to all these words instead of having to hard code it, right? That is why variables are helpful, right? But now don't think this is it, okay? Because variables go into so much more. This is like a surface level. This is like 0.1% explanation of it, okay? I just want to give you the general picture of what a variable is, right? How it represents shit. Okay, and then let's actually go into Studio and let's pull up some examples, alright? Let's say I have a part, alright? Now, if I wanted to change the color of the part, or let's say I wanted to change multiple variables of the part, let's say I wanted to change the transparency of the part, and then the material of the part, okay? And then maybe the reflectance of the part. Well, I could do it like this: game.workspace dot part, right? Dot transparency is equal to 1, and then game.workspace dot reflectance. Fuck. Oh, my bad. Dot part dot reflectance is equal to 1, and then game.workspace dot material part dot material is equal to, let's say, neon, right? That is alright. There's nothing wrong with doing. Well, there is something wrong with doing it this way, but it works. Okay, at the end of the day, it works. But you can make this a lot more efficient. How so? We can do local part is equal to game.workspace.part. Alright, and then what we can do now is we can actually take the part, right? Take the variable and just plug it in. Okay, and basically what this is essentially, this is basically as the same shit as this. Okay, it's just for this we created a shortcut and we just placed a shortcut in here. So instead of having to write this, right, this would be written for us. Okay, and all we'd have to do is part. Make sense? So this is an instance variable, okay, right? Because it's a physical item that I called upon. So I called upon game, and I called upon workspace. I called upon part, right? And since this is a object in the game, it's an instance value. Just saying. All right. So now you set it to 1. All right. And then let's say, how about this? Okay, let's say transparency tick. Since transparency numbers, let's set it to 0.5. Okay. So now if I did this, right, basically, this is the number value 0.5. So it's still gonna work, right? Because it's not, the script is not registering transparency number itself. It's it's referencing what this represents, which is 0.5. So basically, it would be the same shit as this, but it's represented by a variable instead. So if we want to change the transparency, right, we could just change this, okay? And then it would be fully invisible, or if you want half invisible, right? So now if we run it, let's see what happens. Would you look at that, right? All the variables change, right? So it still works. Why do I have 2 scripts? Oh, don't worry about this. So that's basically that, right? I hope you understand what variables are now, and what data types are, and how you can plug them in, okay? Because variables are very fluid, all right? They're like liquid. They don't put them in too much of a cage, okay? Because variables, yeah, very useful, okay, very fluid. Shouldn't put them in a cage. And that's basically that. So I hope you had fun, right? And I'll see you in the next video. Shit, my bad. Okay.